Let me get a heat check, heat check, heat check, heat check, heat check, heat check, heat. Can I get a heat check, 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 heat check. Let me get a heat check, heat check, heat check, heat check.
SML, what's up? You know what time it is. End of the season here, and that means it's snowboarding time. Time to pack up your stuff, get on out of here as fast as you can. I'm just kidding. That means it's playoff time for everybody except for maybe me. But joining me today, maybe for the last time ever, depending on what rumors you believe, is the Mad Bomber. What's going on, buddy?
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm gonna take this off season to kind of decide. I think maybe it is time to walk away, but we'll see.
Heat check, spoiler alert, I don't think Bomber is walking away.
Yeah, we'll see. Tiny was talking some shit in chat, so maybe
that sounds like Tiny.
Just long enough to play him. Hopefully it's like a week 1 game. But yeah, I'm excited for these playoffs. I think we've got some really good matchups, so might as well just jump right into it then.
Let's do it, and then of course we've got the folding chair pressure scale coming up afterwards. So let's jump right into it.
All right, so I guess we'll start in the AFC then. First game is Prime against double bean no rice, double rice no one of those, some Mexican dish. Whether he likes the beans or the rice, I don't know. But what do you think for this game? I think they split in the regular season, and one of the games was not close.
Yeah, I believe Rice took game 1, and then Prime came back with a vengeance and dropped like 1,000 points on him in game 2. Unfortunately, in this one, I believe that Rice will be sticking to the old playoff moniker. Double Rice, no playoff wins. We've seen the clutch gene dog him a couple times. We've seen the primer guys in these big moments. And then we've seen Prime. He's playing some good football. Baker Mayfield obviously gives him an element he didn't have last season. I just don't think that Beans is going to have what it takes. I think Prime's going to take this one pretty easily.
Yeah, I'm wondering if maybe Prime is in his head after that last beating. I mean, he beat him really bad.
It was ugly.
It was ZZ style beating. I think Bean did score, but it was bad, and I think it could be in his head. But I think at the same time, it may have made him realize he's not a passing team.
Yeah.
You know, you can have Julio Jones, you can have AJ Brown, but if you don't have anybody to throw him the ball, then you just stick with Derrick Henry. And I think this game could be closer than definitely closer than the second time. You know, last season these guys met up in the playoffs and Bean had him, but he just choked it away, and which has kind of been the primer posse MO is to choke away games. We've seen Mono blow huge leads. Doink face has a whole name because of it, and then and Bean we've seen do it too. But I think Prime's going to pull this one out, but I think it's going to be a lot closer. I think you're going to see a lot more Derrick Henry.
Yeah, I think Bean's going to learn from his mistakes as well, and we're not going to see that end of half random screen pass to lose Freight Train if Freight Train is lit up. So, you know, hopefully we get a good game out of this. I do agree with you. I think it'll be closer. I don't think we're going to see 55, 60 points for the Colts, but I just think that in the end the clutch gene's going to work out for the Colts instead of the Titans in this one.
Yeah, I think it'll be Prime in this one. So we'll agree to move Prime on in that one. Next up is the Raiders and the Jaguars. We got D Muse, who quietly comes in as the 3 seed, had a really good season. And then Matt, who he's already pretty much conceded the game, conceded the whole cycle. I'm gonna pick D Muse in this one. I think Matt could win, but he's kind of sliding right now. The end of the season wasn't kind to him, but he, giving away games to RD, didn't even play him. I think RD had something come up, but I think it's going to be D-Muse. I think he's just quietly putting together a nice season there in Las Vegas, and he is a guy that's been to a Super Bowl before. So I'm going to take D-Muse.
Yeah, these guys, I feel, both kind of come into this game with their typical MOs. I mean, D-Muse is like, the quiet, just shows up in playoffs, and all of a sudden he's a top 3 seed, and you didn't even realize that he had won enough games to make the playoffs to begin with. I feel that was his entire cycle last game, and he's sticking to it again in Madden 22. And then, of course, Matt, typical Matt. He comes in talking about Prime more than himself. He thinks he's going to lose every game. He's just happy to be here, despite a season where he really was in the 1 seed until like the last 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of fits what we know about both guys. However, I'm gonna go different from you. I'm rolling with Matt in this one. I think his defense is suited to stop DMUs, that kind of short, quick pass offense. Mac Jones, not a ton of escapability. Matt has had a good pass rush all season with Josh Allen. I think Matt's going to go to the ground game, and I played DMUs earlier this season and had some success on the ground with McCaffrey. So I'm guessing the ETN gets going. Matt stays pretty true to his game, and I think he wins a low-scoring slugfest in this one.
All right. Well, since you're the NFC team, we'll go with your predictions for the AFC. So we'll move DMUs on, or not DMUs, but Matt on in that one. I do think Matt does a better job of the Pauly routine than Pauly does. He's got it almost perfected.
Yeah, he's definitely unseating the woe is me legend that is Pauly.
So that brings us to our final game in the wild card round for the AFC, and it's going to be playoff Mike against Monty and the Primer Posse's. I think their best hope to win in a playoff game. I think it's Monty, and I think it's by like 3 scores. I think this one, of all the games we have in the first round, I think this is the one that's going to be a blowout.
Yeah, this is going to go one of 2 ways. Monty is either going to come out and make a mistake early and get in his head immediately and unravel, or he's going to come out, he's going to, roll out 3 times in a row. Mike's going to be furious. Monty's going to throw across his body, 4 straight times to start the game, get Freight Train lit up, and he's going to win by 75. I feel like there's really no in between. Either a very close, ugly win for Mike or a blowout. For the sake of trying to get the most accurate bracket, I'll pick Monty. However, I don't think Mike's out of this one, like some people probably think.
Okay. So that means, if I'm looking at it right, we would have Prime as the 2 seed, would play D-Muse as the 3 seed. And then Monty.
No, he would play Matt as the 6 seed.
Oh, that's right. You went with Matt. Okay, so Prime and Matt, and then Monty and QP. So we'll start with Prime and Matt. I don't even know if they'll play the game or they're just going to blow each other until one decides that they're going to move on. I'll just say Prime because I think Matt will just give it to him anyway. In probably the least interesting playoff game we have all season because they're just going to be too busy working on each other to even remember there's a game going on. So I think Prime's going to move on in that one.
Yeah, I think this one's as easy as they come, prediction-wise. I think really what it's going to come down to is Matt is going to flip a coin on whether or not he's going to try. But what he won't tell anyone is that it's a one-sided coin. So he will not be trying. He'll be giving this one to Prime. He'll keep it close. He'll make sure it's a 1-score game so he can keep that narrative up. But I don't think there's any doubt in anyone's mind that Prime is moving on in that game.
All right, so then it's Monty against QP. It'll be a third matchup for these two. They already met twice this season. I think QP is going to win this one, and I think it'll be fairly easy. Monty just can't avoid the mistakes, and then QP with Lamar is just unreal right now. So I think it's going to be a QP and Prime AFC Championship game.
Yeah, these teams split in the regular season. Q won the first matchup 49-35, and then Monty edges him out 28-21. In the second game, at the end of the day, I think you definitely have to roll with Q here. We've talked about Monty's offense. It's just not elite caliber. It's not, going to win you the big playoff games. It's the drags. It's the inside zones from shotgun. It's the rollouts. That offense just gets easy to stop in the big games when you need to, and Q is the guy that's going to be able to do that. So I'm going to take Q. We already know that Monty can't play any defense, so he can probably win the game against the sub 500 team, but I don't think there's any shot he gets a second round victory. So Q and Prime I think is the easy AFC Championship call.
All right, and then that means, like you said, Q and Prime.
Yep.
I don't think it's even close. We saw these two teams match up before. It was was Q and the Lions taking on Prime and the Chiefs, and Q beat him with the Lions. Now the roles are reversed. Prime's got the Colts and Q has the Ravens. I think this one could get ugly. Prime usually pretty good about at least keeping games close. And I know he's talked about he's getting more comfortable with Baker Mayfield. I think the schedule has had a lot to do with that. I just watched him play Pauly, and it was ugly. It's kind of easy to look good against ZZ. But when you play a playoff team, it's a little tougher. Don't really see any big wins on his schedule. I think maybe he beat Matt, who we've already determined how those games are decided, and then he beat Bean. But you play those guys twice a year anyway, so you're bound to get some wins over him. But he played me, and I didn't even make the playoffs. I beat him. Played Pauly. Pauly beat him bad. Got Player of the Week against him, and that was just like 2 weeks ago. So I'm gonna go with QP. I think QP's hot right now, and I think Prime's kind of been untested. So I'm gonna go with QP.
Yeah, Prime's biggest win of the season. I was looking at this when I was getting ready for my my folding chair scale. Prime's biggest win of the season was against D-Muse in week 11. Every other playoff team he played didn't go that great. Like you said, lost to Pauly, lost to Dump, lost to you, splits with did he sweep Matt? I can't find the other game.
They were both early.
Split with Matt.
Yeah,
split with Matt, split with Beans. So he did beat Mike, playoff Mike. It's Prime has not had a ton of big games this season to really gear up for this. He's not really going to have any in the playoffs, assuming he's going to face Matt and Beans again. I think this is going to be a tough test. I think he's probably a season away on offense from really feeling comfortable with Baker and that Colts team. I think his defense is there. I'm not sure the offense is there quite yet. And he's going to need to score points to keep up with Q. Obviously, we know Q is going to throw a pick on the first drive, most likely, and that's going to settle him in, and he's going to be nearly flawless from there. So it's going to matter if Prime can keep up with the scoring pace, and I just don't know that his offense is quite ready. Next season, probably a different story, but I'm not sure it's there in this one. I'm going to take Q out of the AFC.
All right, so we both got Q going to the AFC. So now we'll move over to the NFC and see who he's going to face. And the first matchup, NYT and Clink, just recently got moved to tonight, so it looks like we may have a wild card round all in one night. I got to take NYT in this game. I know he just got beat by Doink Face, but that Buccaneers team is a lot different than that Lions team. Mm-hmm. And Clink, after seeing him lose to Fig, it's tough to pick him in a playoff matchup against the 2 seed. So I'm gonna take NYT. I think maybe the quarterback for Clink is still a little ways off. It seemed to have hurt him a little bit. And I'm going to go with NYT. He's just playing really well right now.
Yeah, that Figs loss is going to haunt Clink for a little while. That's for sure. I think the big key in this, and obviously, talking to Clink quite a bit, kind of looking at playoffs and his potential matchups and, seeing who he could have played. I think NYT was the worst matchup for him. And the reason for that strictly comes down to Kyler Murray. Clink obviously is a defensive player. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows about his user and his propensity to get interceptions and to throw them as well. I think the big issue is the Lions' defensive line is not ready for Kyler Murray or escape artist or the things he can do outside of the pocket. He's not going to have anybody that can chase him down, even in a contain. He has nobody he can put on the spy to really be effective. So as long as NYT isn't, passing like a blind man, I think he's going to be able to dice up Clink's defense pretty easily. And then Clink as an offensive player is just not there quite yet. Running lanes are not super easy to come by for Swift against the Cardinals. A lot of speed in the secondary. Obviously, rookie quarterback still for the Lions. So that'll always come with a questionable pass or two a game. I just think the team difference is a little too much right now for Clink to overcome, but it'll be a nice test, get your feet wet a little bit with this Lions team as he kind of sets the foundation for the future. But got to go NYT in round one.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen him surprise, maybe not even say surprise people, but he's played with the top teams and won. that Kyler Murray matchup is tough for anybody. I mean, we just saw we took QP in the AFC almost solely because of Lamar Jackson. That instantly gives them an advantage over anybody. And now I think, looking at the NFC, NYT is the 2 seed, but I think the scariest player on that side is Kyler Murray. So I think he's going to easily beat the Lions. I don't think that one will be too close. I don't think Clint can keep up offensively.
Yeah, Klink is a guy who plays to his competition. I mean, as we've seen, losses to Figs, but then, he's here with, a 10-7 record. I mean, he was great in his division. But yeah, I just think the personnel is just going to be huge in this game.
All right, so our next one will be the Packers and Doink, and it's a rematch of last season, and I think I'm going with Doink. We saw after their disconnect, and then they restarted like a whole day later. Hopefully that doesn't happen again, by the way, for you. But,
gosh, please, no.
Yeah, Doink only has a 20-minute window to play a 45.
Yeah, no,
game,
he's
so.
you're not getting a reschedule in there that night.
Yeah, no, if you have to pause, you got to play again tomorrow.
Yep.
But I think after the restart, we saw him he made it a game. It looked like it was going to be a blowout, and with like a quarter and a half left to start, he came back. And we talk about how good that team is. He's got guys everywhere that are good. No real weaknesses on the team. And just looking at Noel's schedule, he hasn't beat anybody. So I don't know. We'll see. This will be probably I'd have to look again, but I think this may be the toughest opponent he's faced all season. But he did seem to have the early jump on him the last playoff game. I just think I think Doinkface is going to get over the hurdle, and he's going to get a playoff win here.
Yeah, that's definitely a good tout. This is going to be, I think, not the most interesting game in the NFC. We have Dan and Dump coming up, but this one's going to be a fun watch. Disconnects are so weird that I feel like I can't take what happens after the actual disconnect seriously. Yeah. I mean, we saw 2 totally different games. The first game, I mean, Noel was cruising to an easy victory. And then obviously you have to do the recreate, and all of a sudden, Doink has all the momentum and he's storming back. So it's just tough to gauge anything out of those. But I mean, looking at Noel's schedule, it's been a weird season. He split with Clink. He has a loss to DW. He beat Pauly, but then he loses to Dump. He has close games with Finns and with Two-Step. He got blown out by Future. Lost to NYT. So his results are all over the place. His stats are still good. Top 3 passing offense, top 10 in points on offense, 12th in points on defense, 5th in total yards, 7th in total pass yards. So it's been a good team. He threw 19 picks with Rodgers to 42 touchdowns. It's a good matchup because you have so many abilities on both sides.
Yeah.
It's really just going to come down to the players. And Doinks is coming off a big win against NYT. He was kind of dead in the water. NYT decided to go for it on 4th down instead of kicking his field goal, and it pretty much lost him the game. So there's positive momentum on Doink's side. I can get on board with picking Doinks here. We'll
yeah, I think this will be one of the closer games. But I think Doink wins it. I think he gets over that hump of not having a playoff win, and I think this will be kind of the primer posses. Maybe they're coming out. They may get 2 wins in this first round.
Yeah, maybe 2 after they got just absolutely obliterated on the 1st and goal.
So next up, we got Dan and Dump, the one that I think is probably the toss-up of the round. These two don't really like each other very much.
Not at all.
And they don't hide it very, very much either. Dan coming off a Super Bowl, and it'll be Dump coming off the toilet bowl. But I don't know. This one's a toss-up. I think I'm going to go with Dump, actually. I think Dump's gonna beat Dan, and it's gonna save your chances of playing in the Super Bowl, because we already know Dan's not playing tomorrow. That Wednesday, that's his late day. Can't play tomorrow. So
true.
I think that may save you, and I think Dump's gonna move on.
All right, well, I'm naturally gonna take Dan because I want to get a fired up dump. I don't want him going to that game thinking
That's right.
he's confident. I want to see the fireworks. I want to see chat popping off. I want to see Dump with the tweets. I want to see Dan with his little snapbacks. I'm ready to see the whole thing. I think this is gonna be the most fun game of the first round. A true toss up. They've both talked quite a bit. They've both had issues against each other. If there was a tough first round matchup for Dan, I think this was absolutely it. So I'm gonna take Dan in this one. I want to see Dump fired up in this game.
All right. So let's see. That puts the 2 seed Cardinals playing the, what did we have? That would be
we can roll with yours because you're the AFC guy.
So we'll go
roll with your
NYT against Doink.
Yep.
Or no, it would be NYT against Dump. Doink would play you.
Oh yeah. Doink lower seed.
Dump won the division. So NYT and Dump. This would be interesting because it's the guy that had the Cardinals last year against the guy that has them this year. I'd be tempted. I got to go with NYT again. He's the number 2 seed, almost had the 1 seed. He's like a game out. Again, Kyler Murray, he's second season in with him, and you can tell he's getting more comfortable with how to use Kyler Murray to just take over a game. And I think that's just what he's going to do in this one. And Dump doesn't seem really too happy with either of his quarterbacks, I don't think. He already talked about having a Jalen Hurts package, and it's not like Hurts has the escape artist or anything. He's just 87 speed, which is, right, I think, only slightly faster than Tua. So, and really, there's no difference between 95 speed and 80 speed if you're not an escape artist. So I'm not sure what a Jalen Hurts package looks like anyway, other than being right-handed. So I'm gonna take the Cardinals to move on in this one.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on that one. NYT is just dangerous with Kyler. Dump's run defense is good. His pass defense is not really. So that's bad news when you're playing against a guy with escape artist and with gunslinger and dangerous receivers like Rondell Moore and DeAndre Hopkins. So I just think it's going to be a little too much. I don't think Dump's offense is really quite there, which in a low-scoring game against Dan, he can win. But I think when he's going to have to score points to beat Kyler and NYT's offense, I'm just not sure that he's comfortable enough with Tua or Hurts to be able to do that. So I got to go Cardinals.
All right, and then that means the Panthers against Doink. Early on it seemed like Doink maybe had some magic against you and was able to keep games close, and then as more and more games have gone on, it seems to have gone back to the way everybody thought it would go, and you've been able to beat him. I don't think this is going to be any different. He got his 1 win against Noel in the first round, and then I think he's going to get beat by the Panthers in the second round. Even with the Mutt Bucks, as you like to call them, I don't think it's going to matter. That Panthers team isn't a team that's going to be at a loss for talent either. And Jordan Love is not the Jordan Love he was last season. It's a completely new one. So I think you're going to move on, and it's going to be Cardinals Panthers.
Yeah, definitely much more comfortable with Jordan Love. 32 touchdowns to only 8 picks this season is the huge difference in my 2 seasons. I think last season I had like 20 something interceptions. So that's a big deal, and it's massive playing against the Mutt Bucks because you just can't give away possession against that team. They're just so good, and obviously, Brady can make a lot of things happen. He is a slightly different Brady. He's starting to throw off, some of those inaccurates. Pressure is actually starting to get to him. So I think it's going to be tight. Doink is not a matchup that, I'm thrilled to play. I just think that there's so much talent on that team that it makes it very difficult, especially in a win or go home game. But yeah, I'm definitely going to take myself. So. All
right. So then it's you against NYT. And this is the one where I don't think Escape Artist is going to quite get it done. You've got some pretty quick guys on defense. And the Escape Artist is nice, but I don't think that's going to get it done. He's got Damian Harris as his running back now. He won't get his abilities till the Super Bowl week, so he'll still have a Damian Harris with no abilities. I don't think it's going to be enough. Now, if he were to get Freight Train, the week he plays you, then that would be something different. But with no abilities and just a regular running back, I think you'll be able to take away Kyler Murray, or at least limit him enough to keep yourself in the game and I think you're probably looking to get a little bit of revenge from that week 2 loss, and I think it's going to end up being a QP and Faz Super Bowl if the timeline works out to where you can make it.
Yeah, it might be a QP versus Faz AI Super Bowl, which would be a nightmare. Or I'm gonna have to kneel out the clock to lose to NYT, depending on the schedules. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but we'll see. Obviously, I would love to get the revenge for the week 2 game. That was one that really kind of put a fire under me. And then Tiny did the finishing touches in week 3. But yeah, obviously there's no taking away Kyler Murray. There's just limiting the damage. I think my team's at least built decently enough to do that. The right tackle that NYT sent to the Shadow Realm in week 2 is no longer playing. So thankfully he can't abuse that the way that he killed me in week 2. So I think this will be a closer one. You picked me, and so I'll be happy to pick me as well.
All right. So then it gets us you against QP in the Super Bowl. I'm gonna pick QP in this one. It's just that Lamar factor. He's using Hollywood Brown quite a bit, who's going to now be superstar for the Super Bowl. Assuming this is the matchup, he's already the top receiver, so he's going to get his dev bumps to superstar and probably get really good abilities. And but I think just Lamar in QP's hands is just too much. It's going to be really tough to stop. Again, your defense is fast and can keep up with Kyler Murray, I think. 96 Lamar Jackson is a completely different animal.
Yep.
And I think that'll be the difference. I think it'll be a good close scoring game, but I think Lamar's going to break off a long run or two to keep his drive alive, and I think that's going to be the difference.
Yeah, like you said, Lamar is an entirely different beast. That 96 speed on top of Escape Artist makes him, just pretty much irrelevant to play defense against. The contains can't keep up. Spies definitely can't keep up. So he's a nightmare. We already played one good game this season that really felt like it could have gone either way. It's going to be a matter of, does Lamar throw one directly at Jeremy Chin, or does he get, clean Lamar? I think that's a big difference in the game. I definitely have no issues with picking Q. I'll pick myself, but I have no issues with picking Q in this one. I think that would be a great game and a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, I think it'll definitely be a fun one to watch. And like you said, though, it's going to come down to what Lamar Jackson shows up because he does have the chance of having that throw it to the wrong color jersey Lamar as opposed to on a dot Lamar. But if you get that one, then it's over. He's pretty much unstoppable.
Then it's trouble.
All right, so that's our brackets. Now, I think we're going to do our folding chairs for the second season in a row. Where do you want to start for this?
We can go start at the 7 seeds. I'll start in the AFC.
Okay.
So 7 seeds starting with Double Rice, no playoff wins. I think for him the pressure maybe mounts a little bit just because of who he's playing. Nobody expects him to win, but obviously there's the Prime factor of if/when he loses, Prime is going to let him hear it for a long time, potentially forever. So I think he's a little higher than last season just because this will be... Dude, I swear to you, this person's car alarm goes off all the time. I don't know if you can hear it.
No, I can't hear it.
But I was trying to go to sleep 2 days ago, and this guy's alarm went off for half an hour. I was so pissed. But anyway, I'm gonna go with Beans coming in a pressure index of let's go with 3 folding chairs. Nobody expects him to win, but he's still gonna get grilled if he loses anyway.
All right, so out of 10, I'm assuming we're gonna go out of. I'm gonna give him. I'll go a little higher. I'll give him 5 folding chairs. I think being a second time around, you're playing Prime again. And then just the way that first playoff game ended where he just completely crumbled, I think there's going to be a little more pressure, especially if the game gets close. So I'm going to give him 5 folding chairs.
Yeah, I can definitely see going a little higher. Do you want to go to the NFC or do you just want to do the whole AFC first?
Might as well just do the AFC while we're here.
Sounds good. So we got Matt. We got Bowling Boy Matt. If you ask him, his pressure is at a negative 50 because he's just happy to be here. He won't win any games. I think for him, he's at a 5 folding chairs. I think honestly, a lot of people expect him to win games. I just don't think that he expects to win any. So that brings his pressure down, just because I don't think he's going to feel any. So I'll put him at a 5 for, I think, perception of the league of that he can win a couple games and make a run. I think everybody believes too that, deep down he can beat Prime. I just don't think he wants to. So I think that keeps the index down a little lower than it probably should be for somebody who you would think would be trying to win playoff games, but you never know.
Not sure what. I don't know if he really believes the whole thing. I don't know. But I think I agree with the 5. I think he likes to play the Paulie game of I'm not very good, I can't win a game. He doesn't seem to get as defensive when you agree with him as Paulie does. So you can tell with Paulie, it's just an act. I don't know. I think with Matt it might be 2. But I think he does a better job of not letting it get to him if someone agrees with him. But I think there's no way, unless he just has no competitive bone in his body other than Prime's, there's no way you can't have at least a little pressure or be going into this wanting to win. So I'll agree with the 5 folding chairs.
Yeah, he's a truly rare case. Very bizarre.
Yeah.
I don't really know how to grade him. So the 5 seed is Monty, and this actually, I think, would be unexpected considering it's his first taste of the SML playoffs. But I'm giving Monty a full 10 out of 10. And the reason for that is, first off, he's playing a sub 500 team. So naturally, if you come into playoffs your first go around, you lose to a sub 500 team. It's a really bad look. He's got the primer posse, kind of that whole narrative riding on him, where at this point everybody just expects them to lose. Expects them to blow big games. So, he comes in. If he loses, he's just immediately lumped into that. And he's going to stay in that for a while. The SML does not let go of narratives, and he's going to learn that quickly. And then also, he guaranteed victory, and I think he guaranteed that it wouldn't be close, which is a very bold strategy for your first taste of playoff action here. It is Mike, which, I guess you can get away with that a little more than some teams. But I think Mike is kind of a sneaky guy that you don't want to do that against. He's honestly a decent game planner. We'll be talking about him quite a bit. Shameless plug here. When Q and I go on the call at 4:00. But yeah, with all the narratives around Monty, everybody knows he's not exactly the brightest bulb in the shed when it comes to game management and decision making in a couple of facets of life. I'm going 10 out of 10. You lose this game, I've already started calling him new meats just because of the offense and the coach suggestions. He loses this one, he kind of immediately turns into the folding chair, and Meats might finally be able to push that nickname off on somebody else.
Yeah, I think I'm going to agree with the 10 out of 10. All the things you said. He's got the whole primer posse on his back. You're playing an 8-9 Dolphins team. There is nobody in the primer posse better situated to get the first win for them than Monty. So that pressure's on him. Like you said, he guaranteed a win. He was talking about going after the number 1 seed, and he was only a game back. But man, you go into the playoffs and you lose to an 8-9 Dolphins team. That's a lot of pressure to come away with one of those wins, especially when everybody expects you to win. So I'm going to agree with the 10 out of 10.
Yeah, this is a game he truly cannot afford to lose.
Yeah.
Which then, of course, will take us to the other side of the spectrum, where we have Mike. He's a solid 1 out of 10. Zero pressure whatsoever for the 8-9 Dolphins, the winners of the Weenie Hut Junior division. He went 6-6 in the conference, and 5-1 in his division. So that kind of tells you how he got here. He traded his quarterback halfway through the season. I think expecting to not be here at all. He's cycled through about 7 quarterbacks since, or so it feels. If Mike wins this game, he's an SML hero and a legend. If he loses this game, so be it. We'll see you again next season. I don't think there's any pressure for Mike. I think he's just playing cool as a cucumber, and we're gonna see what playoff Mike has in the tank here.
Yeah, I think the only reason there's one is because there is a little contingent in chat that's pushing for playoff Mike, and Prime with his narratives, Mike's best player in SML and whatever. So I think maybe there's one. Mike doesn't want to go into the playoffs and immediately lay an egg, especially not against a guy like Monty. And Mike's pretty good about if he can stay in his game plan, he can keep games competitive. The problem is, as soon as things start to go wrong, it feels like they start to snowball, and there's not much he can do to get back into a game. So Monty's offense could put him in that hole early. If I'm Mike, I'm probably gonna go ahead and receive first and try and put Monty in that deficit early. But yeah, I would agree. Like one out of 10, and that'd be just what he's putting on himself.
Yeah, I would be shocked if Mike was feeling any pressure in this game. Speaking of, very similar person with D Muse and the Raiders. Like we said earlier, I feel like he just flies under the radar. It almost feels like he snuck in as a 3 seed. I think D Muse, I'm putting it at a 3 out of 10 folding chairs. Some people might remember that he was in a Super Bowl. I feel most probably don't. So maybe there's a little pressure with that, but he didn't make playoffs last season, so this is his first go around. He hasn't had any narratives to build this cycle. Still rocking Mac Jones. I don't know if that's the answer long term, or if he's sticking with him, or if this is just kind of a bridge guy. But yeah, I don't think there's much pressure on D-Muse. First round matchup against Matt is not exactly a brutal game. It's not a death sentence. Or one that he's necessarily expected to win. So I think this is just a ho-hum 3, and D-Muse is going to continue to quietly go through the playoffs.
Yeah, I think 3 might even be a little high for D-Muse.
Yeah.
He's probably one of the least active guys in chat. I mean, you almost don't see him at all. I would bet that Matt has said the name Prime in chat more than D-Muse has even posted anything in chat. I think
that's probably very fair.
I think saying D-Muse is a quiet 3 is probably even being generous, because I sometimes forget he's in the league. But he got out to a 12-5 record. He got the 3 seed. So I think it's probably like a 2 or a 3, and I think he wouldn't even know that there was any pressure anyway, because he's rarely in chat. So it's not like he would know about any of the narratives or anything that comes out about him. So
we'll see if he watches.
Yeah.
Yep. So that'll go Prime at the 2 seed. I think the pressure is starting to build. Obviously, season 1 he kind of got a pass. Carson Wentz, the Colts, the whole 9. But we're now technically 4 seasons in. Obviously, no titles for Prime yet, and the first 2 of those were the Chiefs, which. Nobody really looks at the Chiefs roster. They just expect you to pick the team and win every game immediately. He's got Baker now, so obviously the Carson Wentz excuse is out. I don't think, like I said earlier in picking the games, I don't think he's quite there yet. So I won't go super high, but I will put him at a 7 on the folding chair scale here. I think that pressure is starting to build. I don't think it's coming to a huge point yet. Like we said, I think Q is still favored in the AFC. So I'll go 7 for Prime. I think we're starting to get there. I don't think we're there just yet.
Yeah, I think the thing with Prime and the pressure there is going to be that, everybody else for the most part is I want to get one championship. Let me get one for the cycle, and then I feel pretty good about it. One for the cycle is kind of a step back for Prime, at least from what it looks like. If you look at the SML site, he's got multiples every cycle, and I think that's kind of the standard that he set, is nobody's going to win more Simbardis per cycle than he does.
Right.
But with the cycle getting, this is, I guess, season 4 overall, so we probably have 3 more. I would guess with the extra week, with the blip, with waiting on the scouting to come out, that we're not getting 8 this time. So if we're only getting 7, you got this one and 3 more if you're going to try and get multiples, and you haven't even gotten 1 yet. So I think that pressure is going to start mounting. Like you said, the Carson Wentz excuse is gone. Had the Chiefs for 2 seasons, couldn't win one. And then we've seen guys like QP take the Lions. So using your team as an excuse when you're one of the top tier guys, you can't use that as an excuse. QP just won against your Chiefs with the Lions. So I think the pressure is going to start. He won't admit it, but there's no way he wants to go through a cycle with not having the most Simbardies in the cycle, let alone not having any. So as those seasons kind of dwindle and we have less and less to go, I think the pressure is gonna keep growing on him. So I think he really wants to get this one.
Yep. Yeah, so that'll take us to Q at the 1 seed. I'm back and forth on Q. I think he is favored. I do think he is the best overall team in the AFC right now. He certainly has the best player in the playoffs, single player. So it's a little tougher from that perspective, but he's also, again, he has his title this cycle already, and he has it with the Lions. So really, there's nothing you can say about, his cycle at all, other than, maybe Lamar wasn't his style or something. So I don't think you can really talk much. I think that keeps the pressure a little lower, the fact that he already has one. So I'm gonna put him at a 6, just because I think there's some with, again, some expectations being the 1 seed, being favored in just about any game he's gonna play. But I think that, having a title already, having done it with the Lions, I think that buys him some time on that pressure not being huge. So I think it keeps it down at a reasonable 6.
Yeah, I would say a 6. I would say if anything's going to add pressure, it's the, if you play Prime in the AFC Championship, he's the Colts. So similar to how, you probably had no pressure coming in as the Lions going up against the Chiefs. Now you got the Ravens, like you said, best player. So I think there's a little more pressure there. And I think a 6 is probably about right for Q.
Yeah.
All right.
So start us over in the NFC there.
All right. So in the NFC, 7 seed Lions with Clink. I think it's probably about a 2, maybe a 3, just because of all the talking with Paulie. Might have a little pressure to not go out and lay an egg in the first round. But again, it's the Lions. We did see Clink or QP take the Lions and win a Super Bowl in season 2. Season 2, Clink's got him in the playoffs. So I don't think there's too much pressure there. He turned him into a winning team. So other than gonna have to hear from Paulie if you end up laying an egg that first round, I think maybe it's probably a 3 folding chairs for Clink.
Yeah, I think 3 is the absolute max. I'd probably put him a step lower at a 2.
Yeah.
I think with the Lions team that he has, is rookie quarterback, I think he's still mostly in team building stage. I think just having them here, an extra week of XP is just kind of icing on the cake. I think he's accomplished his goals for this season. He challenged for the division. He's in the playoffs. He's got a shot. I think the matchup pretty much takes all the pressure off. I think maybe if he was playing Knoll, or if he was playing Dump, guys that he's shown he can beat and he can hang with, I think maybe there's a little more. But he's playing NYT. He was the 1 seed in the NFC pretty much the entire season up until week 18. He's playing against Kyler Murray. He's got the Lions defensive line with almost no impact players on it. I think that's just too much. And from where he's at in a team building perspective, I don't think he's too worried about a playoff run this season. So I'll roll 2 folding chairs, and then we'll see where he's at next season.
All right, somebody who's probably on the other end of that spectrum. Next up, we got Doink and the Bucks. Doesn't have his playoff win. He doinked one against you in the playoffs. Then he goes out and loses to Knoll last season. Now he's got a chance to kind of redeem himself against Knoll this year. I think it's probably an 8 or a 9 for him. He's gonna have the same kind of primer posse pressure on him that Monty has. A little tougher matchup though. Obviously, 12-5 Packers team is a little tougher than that 8-9 Dolphins, but he's also got a lot better team than that Bengals squad. So and he's come so close. Monty, this is still his first playoffs, but Doink's already doinked one, blew one to the Packers, and now he's got a third shot. And Prime's already riding that anti-clutch gene narrative as far as he can, and losing another one to Knoll is just going to cement that, and I think that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, Prime's already bursting at the seams. I mean, yesterday in that game, Prime was ready. He had the shovel out. He had the fork to stick in the guy. He was ready to roll, and Doink really almost gave him a choice. He was dead in the water in that game until that fourth down stop. So it looked like he was going to do it again. Prime was ready to throw him on the grill and end it. I think he's got to be at a 9. This is realistically his last elite season with Brady. We've already started to show some cracks in the armor. The throw power is not going to get any better. So I think with that team, how they're built, he's not going to have a quick answer to get better at quarterback after this season. So I think this is his last chance to really make a run. So I've got him at a 9. I think if he loses in the first round, I mean, he's going to break the pressure scale for next season. That's for sure.
Yeah, kind of off topic from the playoffs, but man, he should have probably used those picks he had last season instead of using them for Khalil Mack. Start either get a quarterback to bring along, but that is going to be an issue for him.
Yep.
And now he doesn't have the draft capital to really do anything about it either. All right. So 5 seed will be Dan and the Falcons. This one I kind of go back and forth on. Obviously just won the championship last year. So, maybe not as much of pressure. He's got the Falcons still, which he hadn't really done much with that team. They're pretty much the same team. He got Javonte Williams. But I think his matchup being Dump in the first round puts a couple more folding chairs on him, because if there's one guy he didn't want to lose to, it would be Dump, because he knows he's going to hear about it. And so I got him at about 6 folding chairs, at least for this game. Maybe get past this one and then you can kind of relax a little bit. But I think this one's going to be the most pressure game he's got in the playoffs.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. You're Dan. You're coming off a Simbardi win. You feel great. So I don't think you're really worried about much from playoffs this season. Maybe even still next season. I think he would love to kind of get the jump start on the race with Prime. If he can get 2 before Prime can even get 1, obviously that's some ammo. But I don't think he's super worried about that. But this first game against Dump is not one you can really afford to lose. I mean, this could realistically be Dump's Super Bowl. Even if he loses after this, I don't think he'll care if he beats Dan. He'll be able to hold that over him forever. And Dump is not afraid to do that. So I think in round 1, I think Dan's pressure is, like you said, a 6 or a 7. And I think after that, it drops down to like a 2. I don't think if he beats Dump, I don't really think he cares what happens next, to be honest.
Yeah. So speaking of him, Dump is at 4. What do you have his at? I'm kind of going back and forth on this one too.
Yeah, I think Dump's is pretty high, especially facing Dan in the first round. We already have kind of the narrative of playoff Dump from last cycle. He had a pretty abysmal showing. I think he only won 1 or 2 games despite, Edens and being in the playoffs every season. So he doesn't have a great track record. He's playing a guy that, he has very blatantly stated that he can beat and will beat.
Yeah.
So, I think if he goes one and done here, the jokes start to pile on pretty high. So I'm gonna throw a Dump at an 8.
Yeah, I kind of am leaning towards it being higher like that. I don't know if there's anybody in the SML that was hurt more by the blip than Dump.
Yeah. He
had a clear path. All you had to do was get through QP every year, and you were in the Super Bowl. It was going to be between those two every season. Yep. I don't know if anybody even remembers, but before the Super Bowl, Prime had us each record a little 10-second little, I don't know what you would call it, a little monologue thing. And Dump said something about how this Super Bowl wasn't a huge deal because he was going to be there a bunch more. Well, We're 4 seasons in, and he hasn't been back yet. And I think the blip really hurt him. That NFC got a lot tougher. He doesn't have that easy path. He didn't have the Cardinals this time. You look now, NYT's got the Cardinals, and he's the 2 seed. And we've got him going to the NFC Championship game. So I think that hurt Dump, and then the competition hurt him, and now he's got to play Dan in the first round. And he talks whether he even believes he can beat Dan. Because he's had a down season last season. He's 11-6 this year. He probably doesn't feel like he's playing his best. He's probably going to be playing from the bathroom. But he's not backing off. He's going to keep talking because he's kind of dug this hole, and this is the hill he's going to die on. He's going to talk shit to Dan no matter what. And so I think he's putting a little bit of extra pressure on himself. So I'd agree with an 8. So that brings us to Noel at number 3. I think Noel's got to be he's got to be like a 5 or 6, if not higher. You know, he's talked all cycle, and he's backed it up. I mean, he's been, you know, a 12-win, 11-win team every year. He hasn't really played the toughest division. You know, he's got Finns, 2 Steps, and Clink and the Lions. So it's not a tough division. But he's been in the playoffs. He's got a playoff win against Doink last season. But I don't think Noel considers himself a one playoff win team. You know, he talks about when he was the Bucks and he got to the NFC Championship game, and you know, people aren't remembering that he was good. And so I don't think a one playoff win team is what he wants to be. Obviously nobody wants to just win one and be done. So I think he's going to have a little bit more pressure on himself than he did last season. Last season, I think it was nice to get back into the playoffs. He got a win. But this time I think he's looking to make a little noise. And I think that's going to put him at like a 5 or 6 on the folding chair scale.
Yeah, I can agree with that. And I think it's more pressure he puts on himself than the league puts on him. Yeah. You don't really hear him talked about, you know, when people talk about the NFC, you know, they talk about me and Dan. They talk about NYT. They talk about, you know, the Bucks roster. But, you know, you really don't hear many people talk about Noel. I think people are still kind of, they have last cycle in their memory. But this is also a team that, you know, if he wants to make noise, it's an older team. Devontae Adams is not going to be a 99 forever. Aaron Rodgers, you know, very similar situation as Brady. His abilities are incredible and they keep him relevant, but he's regressing each year. He's down to 92 throw power. That's going to go down again at the end of this season. So, you know, you're kind of at the end of that rope. And I mean, he doesn't have Jordan Love anymore, so he doesn't really have a backup plan at quarterback. So very similar to the Bucks team, which, you know, it kind of makes your window, it speeds your window up. You know, you gotta kind of win now if you want to do it, if you want to make that deep run before you have to figure out what you're going to do at the most important position on the field. So, you know, I think that coupled with the pressure he's putting on himself to kind of show that last cycle was a fluke and he's more of, you know, a contender in his conference every year. I can definitely see 5 or 6.
Yeah, I think that window definitely accelerates things and puts a little more pressure on.
Yep.
But a team that really doesn't have a window because they have the entire cycle, the Cardinals at number 2 with MIT, I think the pressure is going to be a little higher. We saw him make an NFC Championship game with Washington before the blip. Now he's coming in with you know, escape artist Kyler. We've talked about the Cardinals roster plenty so far, but he comes in as the 2 seed. He comes in off 2 primer Super Bowl appearances. So yep. He's gotten there in the primer. He can't quite get there in the SML, and maybe this time this is different with Kyler. But I think there's a little bit of pressure. You know, last cycle I don't think we saw him get out of the first round. So this isn't something where he's going to get a lot of opportunities, and I think this cycle with these Cardinals, again, like everyone else, the cycle's winding down, so your chance of getting your one is kind of winding down. And I think with this Cardinals team, he knows that he's got the roster to do it. It's just a matter of putting it together on the field, and I think that's going to kind of up the pressure for him a little bit. He's probably sitting at a 6.
Yeah, I think 6 is a good number for him. He still does have, you know, a couple more seasons. Like you said, team's not going anywhere. Quarterback's not going anywhere. Unless, of course, he can't afford something with the tag.
True. Yeah.
So, you know, maybe if this ends up being Kyler's last season somehow, you know, we're talking a different tune. But I think he'll be okay from the Kyler front, the team front. So I think he sticks at a 6. I think if he doesn't get it this season, it continues to climb a little higher with each new playoff as he gets closer to the end of the cycle. Because he does have the opportunity to do it. He's got the team. He's made the runs before. You know, so he has the capabilities. I think that pressure will build as, you know, he continues to go knock anyone. But for now, I don't think it's quite as high as it could be. So I think 6 is a good number from you.
All right. So then the last one we got is you and the Panthers. Funny how that ended that way. I'd say it's probably got to be like a 7 at this point. 4 seasons in, you still haven't got your one. You haven't even got to the Super Bowl in the first 3 seasons. So maybe there's a little bit of a pressure there to not have a bad game. I think the matchups kind of will favor you this go around. You won't have really a tough one till NYT. I think is going to be the big trouble with Kyler Murray. But I think that, we just talked about it with just about everybody else. The cycle's winding down. The chances to get that Simbardi are winding down. And I think you're probably one of the guys that also, one isn't the goal. It's being the guy that has the most at the end of the cycle. And like you said, Dan has the opportunity to get his second to put pressure on Prime. But that puts pressure on anybody else that was intending on being the cycle leader for Simbardis. And I think you're one of the guys that considers yourself in that tier. And, it's winding down. So I think this is a big season for you. And then on the other side of it, you've also got the timeline of that calendar counting down. And so every game you're kind of probably keeping an eye on that calendar to make sure everybody's advancing as quick as possible to get the Super Bowl in. So I got you to 7.
Yeah, I almost have more pressure on the schedule than I do anything else. Doesn't really give you the luxury to kind of schedule games when you want. I've basically put all of life on hold, people trying to make plans. I'm like, yeah, I can't. I got Madden's the top priority this week, which I don't know, maybe is a daunting curse on my social life, but here we are. See, I think I shot myself in the foot a little bit. Obviously wasn't expecting to get blipped. I did not take those first 2 seasons seriously with the Bills. I was having so much fun passing with Josh Allen that I said, who cares about defense? Who cares about a run game? And obviously that's not a good way to win in the playoffs. I figured I'm going to have Josh Allen all cycle. I'll worry about, winning and all that after I have some fun throwing for 50 touchdowns. Then we got blipped. And like you said, I did not have an impressive 2 playoffs with the Bills. And then I had to put a season towards developing Jordan Love. So, I definitely shot myself in the foot a little bit, which I think creates a little bit of extra pressure. So I think 7's a good number. I don't feel too bad yet. I am pretty confident with where the team is at. I'm happy with where Love is. I kind of expected another season of it being a little more rocky. Thankfully, he's kind of come along faster than I thought. So, I think 7's, not a bad number. Obviously I'm getting to the point where now, I want to win 1. I want to win 2. So, hopefully this is the start of that, and hopefully it doesn't end with me watching my computer while I drive up to Vermont. So
yeah. All right. So that's everybody's folding chairs. So I got one last question I just thought of while we were doing this.
I'm excited.
Yeah,
I like on the spot questions.
Yeah, this will put you on the spot. So, anybody that's watched anything Meats is on, it's constantly, oh, is this guy going to be the next fold chair? Just trying to unload that name. And do you see anybody in this playoffs that could inch, or even anybody in the SML right now that could maybe creep a little closer to that and maybe unseat Meats as the folding chair?
Yeah, well, so Meats has actually done a good job this cycle of pawning off the folding chair moniker, and he figured out the key, which is just don't make playoffs. You can't fold if you don't get there.
That's right.
And he's been very, very effective at that. So, I think he's actually done a pretty solid job of doing that. I already kind of pegged Monty as my new Meats. But it's early. It's tough to call somebody the folding chair if, they go 0-1 in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I think the closest person to it right now is has got to be Doinks, especially if he goes one and done here. Yeah. He's already shown that he's not afraid on the team building perspective to just go all in immediately. We saw him get, a bazillion superstars with the Raiders. He took a team with a bazillion superstars with the Bucks. He added more, like you said, instead of using his draft capital to, find a solution at quarterback for down the road, he went and got Khalil Mack, added another superstar to the defensive line that already had Shaq Barrett and Vita Vea. So, he goes and gets Khalil Mack. He's got stars everywhere. He's got Brady. Mike Evans is like unguardable in this game, which doesn't make a lot of sense, but he is. So I think Doinks is the closest one to it. If he goes one and done here, Prime is going to be all over it, as we've talked about. So I think right now, if there's anybody knocking on the door to dethrone Meats, I think it's got to be old Doink face.
Yeah, I think I'd agree. That's the guy that I kind of had my eye on as he's probably the folding chair. And It'll be interesting to see if anybody agrees. He's already got the Doink face name, but it's because he hasn't been able to close out big games. So we'll see. He hasn't really had that dominant regular season like Meats had a while back, and which I think is what got him the folding chair. Was, you get the number 1 seed and then you lose the first round. But Doink,
Meats was always that 1, 2, 3 seed. Doinks is consistently coming in at the 7 and the 6 so far, so that is a slight difference.
Yeah, I think the only difference is he's been favored to win, and maybe that was Matt and Meats kind of putting that out there to help Meats get rid of that folding chair. Make Doink your Super Bowl favorite, and then watch him crash and burn against Noel. But
telling you, if you want somebody to go to war for you, Matt seems to be the guy.
That's right. Yeah, I just thought that would be an interesting question to see if as we get closer. I mean, if Doink goes 0-3 the next 3 playoffs after this one too, I think it would be fair to at least entertain that conversation that he may be the new folding chair. But until that happens, I think it still Meats. I think. Meats is, and if anything, even if Meats does pass it off, I mean, he goes from the folding chair to just like the broken chair. So I mean, it's not great for Meats, but I mean, I guess it's better. Yeah, I think the fact that he tries to get rid of it so hard makes it stick even more.
Yeah, for sure. The fact that he keeps trying to pawn it off immediately is not helping his cause.
No, if you show it bothers you, you can't show weakness.
He's got to go the Beans route. I mean, Beans just steered directly into double rice, no playoff wins, double stretch, no dives. I mean, he's all about it.
Yep. But that's going to do it for this season's playoff heat check. We'll see how it goes. Good luck to everybody in, and hopefully our predictions are pretty close.
Yeah, we'll see. Kicking things off in just under an hour here. Me and Q on the call. We get Monty and Mike, so it should be fun.
All right, sounds good. Enjoy the playoffs, guys, and this has been Heat Check.
Let me get a heat check, heat check, heat check, heat check, heat check, heat check, heat. Can I get a heat check, heat check, heat check, heat check, heat check. Heat check, heat check, heat check, heat check, heat check, heat check, heat check. Let me get a heat check, heat check, heat check, heat check.